Good morning everybody. Hello, I'm Daniel Zeichner. I'm your Member of Parliament and welcome to my first online school assembly for the school children of Cambridge. Hello children! Now there may be other people watching this today, but this is mainly for the children. And of course normally on a Friday I'd be visiting your school and I'd be saying hello to your head teacher, hello to your parents and teachers, but at the moment sadly we're all having to stay in. So this is the next best thing, and I'm so pleased that so many children have sent in their questions and I'll be answering them in a minute. But the first thing I just wanted to say was a big thank you. Thank you to you children for being so well behaved and understanding and doing your lessons and being nice to people. But most of all, thank you particularly to the parents who are working in the National Health Service or who are carers or helping look after our older people. It's a really difficult time at the moment, and we're all trying to do the right thing. So children, just remember, stay safe, keep doing that hand washing, make sure that when you go out, we're 2 meters apart. Do try and get some exercise when you go out once a day. But the more we can do to stick to the rules, the sooner this will be over and we'll be back to normal. So thank you so much for joining me for the assembly this morning. Now, I asked people to send in questions and we've had such a fantastic response. We can't answer all of them this morning. But what I can do is I'm going to pick out some of the questions and see if I can do my best to answer them. A couple of schools asked for a particular mention. I'm told that at the Galford school, I've read this on Twitter, Mrs. Fuller has had a go at balancing toilet rolls on her head. Well, that's an amazing thing to be trying to do. But of course we want to make sure that everyone shares the toilet rolls round and we all get them at the supermarkets. And if we are patient, the supplies are coming through. I've also been asked to say hello to all the pupils in Year 5 at St Matthew's. Hello St Matthew's Year 5, because apparently you're writing questions to me at this very moment. So I look forward to getting those and having a go at answering them. But let me go into some of the questions. And the first question is from Leon, who's 7. Hello Leon, hello. And you asked me, what's my favourite dinosaur? Well, I don't really know that much about dinosaurs. So I did what you should always do, children, when you don't know. Go and look it up. Now, I've got lots of books in my library, but I actually went online, which is what we do much more these days. So I had a look to see what my favourite dinosaur is. And when I looked at them, I came up with a Spinosaurus. That's one with a big spiny back. So I don't know what your favourite is, Leon, but maybe you could draw me a Spinosaurus and I could put it on my board. So thank you for that question. Now the next question I'm going to deal with is one which is very close to my heart from Michael, who's aged 9. Hello Michael. Now Michael says, I'm a Cambridge United fan. Well, I am too, that's great. He says, are you? Well, I am. Can you do anything to help the club at this difficult time? Really good question, because so many of our sports teams, of course, are having a really hard time at the moment because we can't play any sport. That's really sad. So what I'm going to do straight after this assembly is I've got my current season ticket for Cambridge United. Very sorry we're not going to see the rest of the season just yet, but I'm going to go online, and not everyone can do this of course, because not everyone has got the money, but those who can perhaps can do what I'm doing, which is to renew my season ticket for next year and look forward to the new season when that comes. So let's all do what we can to help Cambridge United, and it's really good what the club are doing because they're helping with lots of the volunteering to help older people in and around the ground at the Abbey. Now, of course, lots of children have asked questions about coronavirus, and I'm not a medical expert, but I'll do my best to answer the questions that you've asked. And Olivia, age 9, hello Olivia. Olivia has asked, what are you doing about the coronavirus? Well, as all politicians, we're trying to support the government at the moment, but also ask questions about what they're doing, because that's our job. But we're all encouraging people to follow the guidelines, to wash hands regularly. So children, remember, wash your hands carefully, to follow the guidelines, not be too close to people, get regular exercise, do your lessons at home if you can, because that's really important to keep up your education. But the big thing we're trying to do with the government is make sure that the people who need it get all that testing, all that gear that they need to protect themselves, the gloves, the aprons, the eye protection, everything, the masks, and everyone's working hard on trying to make sure that all the people who need it get that as soon as possible. And of course, we're working on getting a test that works for everybody. Now, I think the government maybe should have moved a bit more quickly on some of this, but the important thing now is to make sure that it works for everybody and keeps people safe. Now, we've got other questions about coronavirus. Afizar, who's aged 8, hello Afizar, says, will the poor people get tested or not, and what will happen to them after, and how will they be able to self-isolate? And that's a really important question, Afizar, because we've got to make sure that everyone is looked after during this crisis. Everybody everywhere. And one of my worries is when we look at some of the poorer countries around the world, they may well suffer even more than we are at the moment. So when we've sorted it out for our country, I hope we'll be working with other countries to help them face what is a very, very difficult challenge for them too. So thank you, Afisar. That is a really, really good question. Now, the next one is a hard one, I think, because Alex, who's aged 8, hello Alex, has asked, when will the schools open up? Well, that's not easy to answer at the moment. Obviously, we would like them to open up as soon as we can, but only when it's safe. So there's a bit of a discussion going on about that, but I don't think that's going to happen in the next few weeks. Let's see how it goes. After Easter, we'll be thinking about it, but obviously only when it's safe to do so can we open the schools again. And Barathan, also aged 8, hello Barathan, asks, is there anything we can do to help elderly people's lives in this time of crisis? Well, that's a really nice question. Looking after older people, the advice of course is for people over 70 not to go out at the moment, but wherever we can, anything we can do to help, we do it. And of course we can always phone people or send them maybe a nice note, or just be friendly whenever we get the opportunity. So thank you for that, Barathan. Really, really important. I'm just looking to see, yes, Ariana, age 9. Hello, Ariana. Ariana asks, when the lockdown will end, what can we do to help global warming stop? Well, that's a really good question. Because before this current crisis started, we already knew we had a climate crisis. And I think some of the things we're doing at the moment, we probably should have been doing to tackle global warming. And one of the things that has happened, of course, is we're all doing much less driving around. And that's already having an effect on air quality and improving it. So it may be one of the good things that comes from this is that we can learn the lessons that we can actually do something to tackle the climate crisis by changing the way we all live. But of course, there's many, many other things that need to be done as well. And actually one of the other questions touches on that. And it's a very, very good question this time from, and I'm just looking, from Devansh, who's aged 8. Hello, Devansh. And the question is, have you made cutting down trees illegal? That's a good question. There are always going to be some trees that are diseased, sadly, or dangerous. Sometimes when we're trying to make changes, you have to take trees down. But mostly we should be planting more trees. And everybody now understands that if we're going to tackle the climate crisis, we're going to need more trees. So I think it's really, really important. It's not so much about taking trees down, much more about planting more trees. And I don't think we're planting enough at the moment. People are doing their bit, lots of schools and lots of people trying to do their best in Cambridge. But we need some big tree planting programs right across the country. We also need to make sure it's the right trees in the right place to make sure that our habitats are protected in the right kind of way. But really, really good question. Now we've got some other questions that aren't about coronavirus. I'll just try and do some of them. And there's a good question from Riley, age 9. Riley, hello. And Riley asked, can we have a steam preservation railway museum in Cambridge? Well, that's a good question because, of course, Cambridge used to be a really big railway place. Lots of the houses in Romsey used to have railway workers living in them. So we've got still, of course, a very important rail station, and we've got a new one, and we may be getting another new one soon. But could we have a museum? Well, I think what I'd like to see actually is more help and support for the technology museum that's down on Riverside. And when I visited a while ago, I think they've even got a little railway there, and which used to be used for moving goods around. So I think more support for the technology museum, maybe that will go some way towards satisfying what Riley's looking for. Now, let me see what the next question is. A question that we've spent a lot of time on in the past from Mate, who's aged 8. Hello, Mate. Why is Brexit bad for the country? Well, we've had a big discussion about Brexit over the last few years. Now, I wish that we'd stayed in the European Union. I really, really do. But unfortunately, from my point of view and for many people in Cambridge, the country decided that we wanted to leave. Now, I think actually this virus and the crisis has shown just how much we all need to be working together. So I hope that after this, when we think about what our relationship in future will be like with our friends and neighbours in Europe, I hope we'll stay as close as possible. And then one day in the future, we may think possibly about rejoining, but I don't think that's going to be for a while yet. So the important thing, particularly for all our people working in universities and research, is that they go on having that close linkage with our European neighbours. And I think that would be the best solution from where we are now. But it's a very good question. I know it's something that bothers a lot of people, not least, of course, because so many of our friends and neighbours are from the European Union and we want them to stay and feel welcome here. So I'm coming on almost to the last question now, and this is one that's really quite an interesting one for me. Romilly, aged 11, asks, how do MPs work from home? Well, we're all having to, hello Romilly, good question. We're all having to learn how to work from home at the moment, and it's a very different experience, frankly. I actually think we should be back in Westminster at the moment, and I would love to see Parliament called back as soon as it's safe to do so. I think we should be there asking the serious questions that need to be asked to the government. And I think the government is better when it's being questioned and queried on things. Now, it may be that we can do it through things like these kind of calls, the Zoom calls, the Skype calls that people are getting used to. But in the meantime, there's lots that one can do from home. So I spend much of my days at the moment talking to people. I'm what's called a shadow minister. When you see the ministers come and do the press conferences, sometimes it's Boris Johnson, sometimes it's other people. Because my party is the opposition party, some of us are lucky enough to be given the job of being the person who would be that person if Labour were in the government. So I'm the shadow food and farming minister at the moment, which means I talk to many of the supermarkets. I talk to the people who produce the food in the fields, the people who work in the food factories, the people who are bringing the food to and from our supermarkets and importing it and exporting it. So it's a fascinating job, and it's taking a lot of my time at the moment because it's really important that we maintain our stocks of food so everyone can eat and live safely. So I do a lot of that through phone calls, through conferences like this, and just recently writing to the ministers and asking them the questions directly. Of course, also MPs are very keen to see lots of people around their own area, their own city, and particularly on Fridays and Saturdays, that's what I do most weeks, and I'm doing the same at the moment. So in the last few days, I've been talking to the police, for instance, I've been talking to the hospitals, I've been talking to the council leaders, and I'll be doing much more of that the rest of today, and particularly trying to help some of our businesses who are really struggling at the moment because, of course, they haven't got any customers in some case. So there's lots for MPs to do. In some ways it feels more busy than usual, but it would be much better for when we can get back to normal. So thank you all for your questions. I really appreciate them. It's lovely to hear from you. It's very good to be talking to you today in a way that one normally wouldn't be able to do, but video is not the same as seeing you face to face, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. I'll just finish by just repeating the message to the children that keep on with that hand washing, keep on being nice to your teachers and parents, keep on making sure you do get a bit of exercise every day, stay cheerful because this won't go on indefinitely. We will get back to normal as soon as possible, but most of all for me, thank you for taking the time and trouble to listen to me and to listen to me trying to answer some of your questions. I love getting your questions. Keep sending them, and hopefully we can do some more very, very soon. So thank you all very much, and stay cheerful, and have a happy Easter in a week or so's time. Bye.